How's it going, everybody? Well, Carpo, once again, introduction video. Today I'm going to talk about rituals. This morning I got up and got my son ready for school, got his lunch. We're driving up there and I'm going to drop him off, and I said something to the effect of, it's our morning ritual. And he says, "What's a ritual?" And I went to explain it to him, and of course curiosity got the best of me, so I delved a little deeper once I got home. But basically what I told him is a ritual is a system of action or behavior that is repeatable for one reason or another that we incorporate into our lives, whether it be purposeful through need, such as, let's say, getting up in the morning and getting ready, say having your cup of coffee, taking a shower, getting dressed. These are all ritual things, but they are also basic needs. They're things that we do. But you could consider that a ritual. But you have to eat, you have to get dressed. Then there are other rituals which we may choose to do. Once we are dressed and functional and we're out in our daily life, perhaps we set aside a certain time each day for a meditation ritual or something else. Even something like coming home and having a beer could be a ritual. Now, getting into the roots of the word, ritual itself is derived from, well, we've heard the term rites, such as rites of passage. And the term was, I believe, further the etymology can be traced back to, I believe it's like Urta, not sure how it's pronounced, but it was a Sanskrit word, which meant the order of operations or the order of being. This is the reason why I found it so interesting, is because I've thought about this a lot lately, how our rituals affect us in our daily lives and the things that we look forward to. For example, I thought about this earlier. Going to a concert is not a ritual. That's just going to a concert for entertainment. However, if there's a particular band that you really like, that you go see every single year, then that concert may very well be a ritual for you. And to further break it down, you may have a certain thing that you do when you're at the concerts, or maybe you dress a certain way or have certain behaviors. And these are ritualistic behaviors that are tied into our daily life we don't even notice. Burning Man is completely ritualistic. When I went to Soak, everything about it is ritual in the sense, and the interesting thing is that it's completely non-ritual at the same time, in the sense that everyone shows up as independent people. There's no set course of action that you have to take. There's no set operation that you have to do. However, when it comes time for the burn, everyone walks up the hill, everyone stands around the fire, and then they have some people that march in their little ritualistic behavior and put torches in or light the fire. These are all behaviors that are repeated every year. So that itself is a ritual. But the thing that I guess really got me was when I started considering all the different interesting costumes that people wear. And although the costumes at Burning Man may be completely different from one another, they are uniforms for the ritual. Just as the Freemasons may go in with their robes and do their ceremonies, or a public official may go through a ceremonial ritual to take oath of office, or of course Christianity, Islam, any religion they're the perfect examples of ritualistic behavior. Going and marching and doing these, carrying the lamp and everything. These are things that help people. So the question is, why? And what exactly do they do for us? What is it about rituals that are good, and what are the things that are bad? I would say that some of the negative attributes to attach to rituals would be the ones that prevent... First off, let me say that there was a very good description of the word ritual. It says any order of behaviors or operations which, to the outsider who's looking in, seems to be either non-contagious or strange or not understood. So I should put that as that disclaimer, merely because you couldn't say that there's a ritual of people hopping the bus to go to work. This is a basic need. There's more involved in a ritual. It's an agreed upon state of thinking and being. So some of the negative attributes are when a group forms too tight of bonds within themselves, within their own group, to where they tend to cast outsiders. I have very strong beliefs on the idea of forming groups. And when a group omits people because of because they have different beliefs, and this is very complicated because I can't say a group's bad for omitting people with different beliefs. If that group is, let's say that there's a group and one of their rules is no thieves or liars or no felons. And that would be not to be judgmental, but rather to protect themselves against people that they deem to have different values. So different values. If you have the same values, then it's much easier to have a ritual that you can agree on. Sometimes people frown upon rituals as being, let's say, satanic or occultist or extremely religious or dogmatic. What it comes down to is, what does the ritual symbolize itself, and how is it affecting outsiders, or is it at all? I have no problem with a religious group taking it upon themselves to create a ritual which helps them understand their version of God better. However, when that very ritual dismisses other people outright, that's their choice. But when it tends to tell others that they're wrong and force them to believe, such as state-mandated religion, which has been, going on for, thousands of years. I mean, this is, whenever there was a culture that had a belief in a God, then people were forced to believe. That was the religion of the state. And so people were basically forced into rituals. And that builds a lot of resentment. But away from the negatives and onto the positive ideas of the ritual are, to break it down, we're here for a short time, okay? We're born and we die on this earth. And regardless of what happens before or what happens after, you in this body, in this human mind, you will live one life as far as we know. To make sure that you enjoy that life requires not only an insight into who you are and how to make yourself happy, but how to not affect others negatively so it doesn't come back on you in the long run. And it's a learning curve. And by the time we start to learn, we feel like we're getting old. And when I say learning curve, I mean this because a person may say, well, I may not have perfect values, but there are people who are much worse. Or, well, I only stole a few dollars. There's people out there who steal millions. Or, I only punched this guy one time. There's people who would have killed him. All the justifications we make for the decisions that we make, there is no black and white. We try to make it black and white, but there's a very big gray area as to what's appropriate and what's not. Having this discussion with people, all kinds of things come up where people demand that certain things are just evil. And whenever somebody says, this is evil, I say, in whose mind? And to take the most extreme example, a person may say, Hitler was evil. He murdered millions of Jews. Another person may say, oh, the Holocaust never happened, because there are a lot of Holocaust deniers. Other people may see somewhere in the middle that a lot of people were killed. Hitler did not kill them himself. He was as mind-warped as the next person, but he made bad decisions. It doesn't make him evil, but by our standards and our values, we consider that evil, because it's atrocious. It's funny, because my brother and I talked about this actually yesterday. We were texting back and forth, and I can't remember exactly what we were discussing. It wasn't about rituals, but it was about, well, anyway, I'll have to get into that in a different video. I don't want to lose my train of thought. But the things aren't always cut and dry, black and white. People do things for crazy reasons, and when we compare good and bad ritualistic behaviors to our modern society, whatever you want to call modern society, it's a lot easier for us to just point the finger at other people and say this person's wrong because they don't believe what I do. But that's just not the way it is, nor is that going to change. In thousands of years of people telling others what to believe, how far has that gotten us? It's built resentment towards those who were forced to believe in certain things. A person who grows up, let's say, doing these rituals over and over has it embedded in their head. There was a a case of a dance craze. I think it was in the 1800s in some town here in the U.S. and people were dancing out in the streets for weeks on end. I believe one guy died and several people got severe dehydration. And it was a mass delirium. There have been several cases like that of different things. One person sees the Mother Teresa or, Mother Mary, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden people start seeing it. One person sees a Bigfoot out in the woods, and all of a sudden this location has a bunch of sightings. Dog man or cat man or Yeti or any of these creatures, or the Chupacabra or aliens, and all these things come in these little packets of, where people, let's just say they become almost like a ritualistic behavior of society in general. That we have a ritual as a whole of grasping onto certain ideas when we find them and saying, oh, this must be true, and then moving on to other things. And I think that the internet has really brought that forward. The ritual of humanity itself is the ritual of rebirth. The ritual of old ideas dying, new ideas coming forward to replace them, and then those new ideas being proven to be inadequate, and therefore we fall back on the old ideas. All of these repeating cycles, and the pendulum swings to the left and it swings to the right. So I guess to leave on a point, it would be to create your own rituals. Because an important thing about rituals to me is that they remind you of something in the past. They remind you of a moment where you were either happy, or you understood, or content, or you had something to grab onto. It puts us in a frame of mind instantly where we were before. And there are behaviors you can do, such as repeating mantras, or you can wear certain clothes and have certain ideas, stay in a certain location, sit and meditate in a certain place or a certain way, think about a certain thing. But one of the most prominent ritualistic behaviors is the burning of incense, in my mind, because the olfactory senses are the most prominent memory-related sense. You can feel something and hear something that sounds similar, but smells are very distinct. And our noses are set up to distinguish very, very light differences in scent. So by setting up incense and having a behavior we do, then it kind of puts us in a mood. And I'm not just saying people should just go out and meditate or anything like that. This is an example of my ritual. It could be as simple as going out into the woods and writing in your journal or something, I guess to leave on another point, important one, would be one of the hardest things for me is to make a ritual out of something that I don't enjoy doing. And that just came to mind, which generally when I make these videos, I have at least one epiphany while I'm making them, that something that I hadn't realized or hadn't thought about. And in this case, that would be it, where I realized that I do rituals that satisfy me or that I enjoy. But having a ritual like changing the cat litter or cleaning certain parts of the house or fixing a certain thing, having a ritual of doing responsible things is very difficult because we consider that to be work. And work and play should be very difficult to distinguish if you love what you do. It's not always so easy in a world where there used to be 5,000 jobs and now there's 500 million jobs. Sorry, 500,000 jobs, not 500 million. My bad. Yeah. I guess that's all I got. This video is too long already, so I'll just leave it at that. Take care, everybody, and shake your ritualistic maracas, and burn your incense and go hey and all that stuff.